First, we'd like to invite the first speaker, Iokon, Director for Hydrogen Economy Division, Minister of the Trade, Industry and Energy. He will talk about Korea's clean hydrogen economy strategy. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Lee Oh-Kun, Director for Hydrogen Economy Division from the Ministry of the Trade, Industry and Energy. Today I'm going to talk about Korea's clean hydrogen economy strategy briefly. As many speakers mentioned before, carbon neutral is the new norm in this world. Many countries did pledge the carbon neutral, and Korea is no exception. We declared the carbon neutral last year, and recently in COP26 meeting, we also pledged we would like to reduce our carbon emission. Carbon neutral. To realize carbon neutrality, it's very important to make sure we develop the right energy source and electric source at the centralized hydrogen technology, as many countries have come up with their national strategies. And Korea was no exception. In 2019, Korea also announced the hydrogen-related roadmap. Along with the EU and 20 countries, these countries have announced their national hydrogen-related strategies. January 2019, since we announced our plan, in 2020, we established the national law regarding the hydrogen. Based on the law and an act, Korea also established the hydrogen committee inviting the private and public experts. So you can see that Korean government has also making a lot of efforts for the hydrogen economy by laying the foundation. As a result, the hydrogen vehicles and hydrogen fuel cells and other hydrogen-related fields have shown great progress thanks to that effort. And as of August, 110,000 vehicles, the hydrogen vehicle were produced, one of the largest in the world. And I think we have 112 hydrogen refilling charging stations in Korea. It was a great success within just 2 years. I think we are one of the fastest growing hydrogen economies regarding the hydrogen charging stations. I believe that we are one of the largest sizes. To accommodate the government's initiative, the private sector has made a heavy investment. And they have announced their plan to invest further. And recently, the Korea's top 5 conglomerates and the SMEs also joined forces to launch the H2 Business Summit to invest $36 billion by 2030. And then many relevant leaders also launched the H2 Business Summit recently. We have made a lot of successes. However, still we have a long way to go to establish hydrogen economy ecosystem because we are in the infant stage, especially regarding production. We are still mainly focusing on gray hydrogen. We have a long way to go to green hydrogen, and when it comes to distribution regarding the hydrogen charging stations or liquefied hydrogen, all this kind of infrastructure and technology should be enhanced. They need to be mature further. And when it comes to utilization, as I showed you before, FCEVs and fuel cells are heavily focused. So in the future, from production to distribution to utilization, across all board, we need to promote these fields based on the government policies. From production perspective, to make sure to create the clean hydrogen, which means green hydrogen, we also from the distribution perspective, we want to diversify the distribution channels. And when it comes to utilization, hydrogen mobility should be enhanced, including high-duty trucks, trains, and vessels. I think I just saw the tram on display outside of the building. And when it comes to power generation on the utilization perspective, we have to think about ammonia, coal-firing, hydrogen-fueled gas turbine. And at the same time, when it comes to industry field, we have to think about the strip steel making, petrochemical, cement industries with the hydrogen as an energy source. Korea's vision regarding the hydrogen economy is about to establish a world-leading clean hydrogen economy. At this moment, we 220,000 tons, but we want to increase by 3.9 million by 2030 to 27 million by 2050. It means the share of clean hydrogen will be increased by 50% in 2030 and 100% by 2050. So across all board, we want to promote innovation. From the production perspective, we want to focus on clean hydrogen. From the distribution perspective, we want to develop a very close-knit infrastructure. And when it comes to utilization, we want to expand of the use of the hydrogen in everyday life. So we have been making efforts to establish the hydrogen ecosystem. So from the production of the clean hydrogen, we plan to also increase on green hydrogen. You can see the numbers in the slide. By 2050, when it comes to blue hydrogen, we want to increase to 2 million tons and green hydrogen to 3 million tons. And we want to utilize the CCS carbon capturing collection method. And when it comes to green hydrogen collaboration with other industries, we want to establish electrolysis pilot projects with other industries. Not only the local production, but also overseas production have been encouraged. Many areas in the world have been utilizing the renewable energy sources. And also, we understand that every country has a different geological conditions. So we want to look for the places where they have a better conditions. Then we can create the facilities, and then we can bring them back into Korea. That's one of our plans. Through this, we want to increase our self-sufficiency by 50%. not only just buying, procuring hydrogen, we also want to create the infrastructure. So even further, we can export our hydrogen technology to other countries. So we want to establish the supply chain of the hydrogen eventually. Many Korean companies have joined the international project regarding the hydrogen to check the due diligence. Second, I'd like to show the distribution perspective. Currently, how we bring the hydrogen into the field, we are mainly using the ammonia capturing method. We are currently building ships to bring the ammonia methodology capture hydrogen into Korea. So by 2025, we want to commercialize ammonia-fueled ships, and they will be delivered to Korea in the form of the liquefaction. And also by 2030, hydrogen carrier ships will be also commercialized. When we are conducting this project, I think the ports will come to the front to initiate this project. And I believe that Ulsan's port will be one of the leading ports to adopt this technology and infrastructure. So by 2030, Ulsan, Busan, and other 2 Korean ports are selected as the leading ports for hydrogen technology. Over there, from storage to pipeline distribution to utilization of the logistics and transport in the port will be promoted step by step. At the same time, regarding the fuel charging stations, we plan to establish 660 by 2030 and over 1,000 by 2040. And we plan to increase more charging stations, more than LPG charging stations eventually. At the same time, regarding the pipelines, near the port and near the power plant areas, we want to develop the pipelines accordingly to increase the efficiency. Lastly, let me cover the utilization perspective. How we can utilize the hydrogen even further in our daily life. We have a big plan to increase utilization of hydrogen. First, transport can be one example. Regarding transport, given that we have a great automotive technology, we are at the leading position. Because of that, so regarding FCEVs, we aim to drop the price by 50%, and we want to increase the driving range twice by 2030. This is our goal regarding the fuel cell electronic vehicles. And then we can implement these vehicles into more fields. This technology can be implemented in train, ships, construction machinery, and commercial vehicles too, because these heavy-duty trucks and vehicles have a high carbon emission level. So by changing them into hydrogen energy, I think we can better deal with the climate change. So let me cover the power generation field. Currently, 35% energy power generation coming from the fuel, and the nuclear power plant covers the 25%. LNG also covers the 25% of the power generation. So ammonia can be combined for combustion with the hydrogen. By doing so, I think we can reduce the carbon emission. By 2030, we have 20 ammonia using plants, and we will use them for creating the hydrogen combined energy. And also, we will try the LPG combustion engine combined with the hydrogen technology. We have a lot of the large scale fuel cells, but even we have ambition. We want to expand that fuel cell storage capacity. To support this vision and plans, we also adopt a mandatory obligation to promote this goal. They are in discussion in the parliament. Regarding the industry, we have to make sure that the current chemical should be changed into hydrogen related. And regarding the steel, shipbuilding, steel making, they also in development of the relevant technology. And regarding petrochemicals, green naphtha, also more eco-friendly process has been developed. And from cement, we also, through the route, we want to create the green cement. So for carbon neutrality in industries, after a while, we want to implement these plans into a deeper level. By 2050, I believe that this will be more well in place. So by doing so in these fields, I believe we can strengthen the competitiveness of the hydrogen ecosystem. In this regard, we have to focus on safety and human resource enhancement and international collaboration. Regarding the safety, Korea has been utilizing regulatory sandbox and regulations-free zones. As a test bed, we have implemented main pilot projects. Because of that, we don't have all the necessary regulations. To avoid that regulation hurdles, we create a sandbox. First, we can verify the technology, and based on our experience, we can adopt our standard and we can push that standard to the international standards. At the same time, it's very important to nurture right human resources. By 2030, we want to create 50,000 jobs based on the research survey. We are expected to create 50,000 jobs by 2030. To supply the right of human resources, the relevant universities and departments should be well implemented. And lastly, we need to enhance international cooperation. I believe many countries have joined us for this forum. Hydrogen is not an issue for one country. This is a common challenge and common solution for all of us. That's why it's very important to establish international cooperation. Especially regarding the hydrogen trade, we have to create the license and certification for clean hydrogen by adopting the license for origin of the hydrogen. So we have to promote discussions in clean hydrogen trade norms. That will be the brief introduction of the Korea's hydrogen economy strategies. Thank you very much.
Let's give him a big round of applause for the presentation. Okay, let me introduce the second presenter. Argentina Ambassador Alfredo Basco. He's going to explain, he's going to make a presentation on Argentina's hydrogen industry policy. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. Argentina Ambassador.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. Thank you, my colleague of Canada. I want to start to thank the Ulsan authorities for inviting me and congratulating the city for this infrastructure hydrogen energy forum and exhibition. I will start to talk about Argentina National Roadmap Low Emissions Hydrogen 2030. The general objective, positioning Argentina as a relevant actor in the new hydrogen economy, contribute to the development of the national hydrogen strategy as an energy vector and clean fuel with a joint vision that allows to coordinate efforts, complement capabilities, align regulatory and incentive actions to the sector, develop common infrastructures, and create international alliances for investment and promotion. The structure of the presentation is why hydrogen, why Argentina, and where are we heading? And considering that all of you are aware of the strategic role of hydrogen in the energy transition, I will go directly to the second part of the presentation, which is the one titled, Why Argentina? Sorry. Okay. Why Argentina? Argentine hydrogen on a global scale. These are the 5 dimensions that make up the Argentine hydrogen strategy at the global level. The comparative advantages, the local actors and regulations, the international cooperation, the projects, and the exports. The comparative advantages. Argentina has vast natural resources to develop green hydrogen in its territory. Regarding its renewable resources, Argentina has a very favorable conditions for the production of energy from solar, wind, and hydraulic sources, and has additionally a great availability of biomass. Excluding biomass, the country potential for the production of electricity through renewable sources could exceed 300 gigabytes. Regarding the solar energy, the Andean zone of Cuyo and northwestern Argentina share with Chile, Bolivia, and Peru the areas with the greatest potential for photovoltaic energy globally. Regarding the wind energy, the southeastern area of the province of Buenos Aires and the Patagonia region have high potentials. The capacity factors of our Patagonia are in the range of 40 to 45% of capacity, and some parks reach up to 60%. In addition, we have numerous other advantages in all segments of the value chain to position ourselves in the global hydrogen market. We have huge natural gas reserves, an industrial tradition of suppliers to the oil and gas chain. We have, along with conventional natural gas fields, Argentina has the second largest unconventional gas reserves in the world, within an estimated volume of 308 trillion cubic feet concentrated in the Patagonia region. In addition, we have an extensive network of gas pipelines of more than 16,000 kilometers. The biomass supply is widely extended throughout the central and northeastern areas of the country. Argentina has an extensive availability of resources for the production of biofuels, such as biodiesel, from soybeans, ethanol from corn, and sugarcane. These can be used to obtain hydrogen from the biofuel reforming method. Water resources. The availability of water resources at the national level ensures that there is sufficient supply for renewable hydrogen plants. It is clear from our comparative advantages that we have the ability to be a major player in the global hydrogen market as a supplier of both blue and green hydrogen in a competitive way. The local actors. Argentina is taking great steps to position its hydrogen in the energy transition towards clean energy and is doing so with a map of committed, coordinated, and proactive actors, such as the Economic and Social Council formed in an interministerial hydrogen board. This board is divided into different thematic tables that are compatible with the definition of the H2R consortium. The H2R consortium is a group of more than 40 companies that develop research and investigation initiatives under a public-private relationship model. The board and the consortium ensure links and synergy between the public-private sectors. Provincial governments and public institutions, as well as the Argentinian scientific technological system, are important actors in the promotion agenda. We highlight the province of Rio Negro, which published its Green Hydrogen Strategic Plan, assuming the development of hydrogen as an energy vector as public policy. Probably you heard about the recent investment in this province of Rio Negro of the Fortescue Group in green hydrogen for $8.4 billion. Legal framework. We are in the process of developing a special legal framework for the propulsion of our hydrogen economy. We are working on the necessary regulatory measures to improve the relative competitiveness of local production projects and promote new local uses of hydrogen. Regulatory articulation and basic standards for the development of hydrogen, and in October 2021, the Sustainable Mobility Law was launched by the Ministry of Production. International hydrogen cooperation. We hold sessions, collaboration and sharing of good practices and strategies, as well as the elaboration of mechanisms of cooperation and work with different countries of the world that are already advanced in their hydrogen strategies at the national level. This also allows our country to position itself in the market, considering the supply and demand opportunities in different regions of the planet. Climate funding. International cooperation. A key factor is promoting the hydrogen economy is financing through cooperation mechanism and multilateral development banks. This multilateral and bilateral financing brings a new era of opportunities for clean energy. At the moment, Argentina has allocated $15 billion in projects and programs for mitigation and adaptation of climate change. Early stage pilot projects. At this moment, progress is being made with early pilot projects in different segments of the value chain. Blue hydrogen, storage, analysis of underground hydrogen storage, industry, decarbonation of key industries, replacement of gray hydrogen by emissions-free hydrogen. Export. Large-scale emissions-free ammonia export plant by 2030. It is a scalable export project of ammonia of up to 4 million tons on an industrial hub. Transportation. Heavy fleet in corridor of regional trade routes and Vaca Muerta freight train to hydrogen. Substitution of trucks for train. Residential hydrogen mixing in the natural gas network. Substitute natural gas by adding a volume of hydrogen to the natural gas market volume. the investment of Fortescue. Global hydrogen demand. The graph shows how from 2030 the global demand for hydrogen in its different uses will increase significantly. Transportation stands out as the main source of demand. Export map. Potential of Argentina. Argentina is positioned to diversify its exports routes with regards to emissions-free hydrogen and ammonia. There are countries in the world that are net hydrogen demanders, like Korea, Japan, and Europe, and self-sufficient countries, but with a high level of demand, like China and the United States. Worldwide export potential. We have a potential to meet those global needs through our exports. Given the demand, Argentina will have by 2030 500,000 tons in low in carbon hydrogen production. By 2050, 13 million tons low in carbon hydrogen production. This will represent approximately the 2.5% of the global demand. Where are we heading to? Energy transition, green future, multicolor path. Argentina recently launched public tenders for the baseline studies that will allow the development of the national strategy. We estimate that around the end of the first quarter of next year, the baseline studies will be ready to build the national strategy. Towards a 2030 hydrogen economy, baseline studies. They are going to focus on the Argentinian production and cost center, in the technical and normative regulations that are needed to promote the sector, and the prospect for national, regional, and international demand. Although these studies are not yet ready, we are currently working on the regulatory regime together with private companies, the consortium, and the provinces to generate a law that can be implemented in the short term. Emissions-free hydrogen economy development. Our long-term strategy. It will have at its cornerstone a safe and stable regulatory regime with strong incentives for the sector. We seek to position Argentina as a relevant actor in the energy transition. We have firm climate commitments in the framework of the COPs, and we seek to promote both public and private international alliances. Local context. As of today, Argentina is already a large producer of hydrogen, producing some 328,000 tons per year that are used mainly as raw material for fertilizers and fuel oil desulfurizers. Current production, 99% of the hydrogen we produce is made through gas reform and emissions. This generates know-how, advantages, and challenges about where to go first and what are the early projects that we can develop. We also envision that the highest productivity for the development of green hydrogen will be in situ and close to ports. Well, the Argentine energy matrix is, as you can see, gas, oil, renewables, hydropower, nuclear, and coal. Renewable energy. Argentina works hard in the field of renewable energy, considering it is a necessary step for the development of green hydrogen. Among the 154 projects we have, 105 are under construction, 49 in commercial operation, and we have factories installed that employ almost 10,000 people. They are mostly wind and solar projects, but also we are having biomass, biofuels, and small hydro dams. Provincial actors. No, go back. This map shows how Argentina is positioned in green energy and hydrogen development at the federal level. The objective is to show the federality of our strategy and the potential that the impulse of this economy has for provincial development. Map of the provincial projects. In the province of Misiones, we are promoting an hydrogen development project for residential uses. In Rio Negro, we already mentioned, we have the green hydrogen strategic plan and the investment of Fortescue. In the province of Santa Cruz, in the south, we are working on the feasibility study to install a plant of hydrogen. In Chubut, we have High Chico, and in the north part, in Jujuy, we have the photovoltaic park. That is the second largest photovoltaic installation in operations in Latin America. And in Neuquén, we have Vaca Muerta. In particular, the green hydro plant of High Chico is the 1% of green hydrogen production is in High Chico project. This project has been since 2006 at a pilot level, but that is inserted in the entire value chain. It covers the production and the transportation pipelines. Thank you very much.
Alfredo Pascu, 대사님 발표 감사합니다. Thank you so much for starting with us. Thank you very much. 세 번째 주제 발표가 있겠습니다. 캐나다의 수소 산업 정책이라는 주제로 주한 캐나다 대사관 튜더 헤라 부대사님과 캐나다 수소협회 마크 커비 회장님께서 주제 발표를 해주시겠습니다. 네, 올라오실 때 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다.
My name is Tudor Hera. I am the Chargé d'Affaires at the Embassy of Canada here in Korea. It is my great pleasure today to introduce Canada's hydrogen strategy. Before I continue, I would like to express my appreciation to the organizers of this conference, the Korea Hydrogen Industry Association, and the city of Ulsan for hosting this important event. I also want to extend a special thanks to Mr. Bang-Gi Kim, the president of the Korea Hydrogen Industry Association, and Dr. Jun Byung Kim, professor at the University of Ulsan, for inviting me to speak at this session. Let me start with this slide. This is actually my favorite slide in the entire deck. Canada has been a world leader in hydrogen for more than a century. The hydrogen story is a Canadian story, and our industry is already supporting hydrogen deployment around the world. Look at any country, including Korea, that is deploying hydrogen and fuel cell technologies, and you will find that they are using some aspect of Canadian technology or intellectual property. Canada has several advantages as a supplier of choice of clean hydrogen and the technologies to use it. We have abundant natural resources and are world-leading in capabilities in energy and CCUS to produce low-carbon hydrogen. We have world-leading industry with the needed expertise and technology, a well-established energy sector, which is supporting infrastructure, including ample hydro and other clean energies, long-standing international collaborations, and easy access to the North American, Asian, and European markets. This is why Canada is already today one of the top 10 producers of hydrogen in the world. This is Canada. It's a big place. As you can see from this map of Canada, hydrogen presents opportunities across the entire country. They may differ in the type of production or end use and may occur in different time frames. However, it is clear that every region of Canada has the existing infrastructure and know-how to support the development of competitive and sustainable hydrogen partnerships. Hydrogen is essential to achieve decarbonization in Canada and here in Korea, and reaching our goal of net zero emissions by 2050. It is in this context that Canada released its National Hydrogen Strategy in 2020, which includes 32 recommendations across 8 key pillars, which you see here. Strategic partnerships are going to be critical. Governments, industry, and academia in Canada, and government to government, will work together to further develop the hydrogen industry and integrate hydrogen into our energy matrix. This is something that Canada has quite an experience with, working with provincial governments, coming and developing new innovation by partnership. Until the technologies are cost competitive, government will play a key role in de-risking investments. Codes, standards, regulations will ensure that new technologies enter the market safely and effectively. Government and industry support for innovation will be drivers to bring down costs and improve performance, ensuring Canadian companies remain at the forefront of Canadian and international technology development. Policies from the government will build around ensuring hydrogen is central in energy transition and climate policy to provide the long-term signal that industry needs to lock in investment. As you well know, Canada is a very stable and predictable economy, so these policies will help accelerate the development of already existing hydrogen projects. However, a lot of the pressure comes directly from the public, which are the clients for energy usage. Canada, therefore, will also work to build public knowledge and confidence in hydrogen and help accelerate adoption by private partners. Canada will continue to seek international collaborations, including to export our hydrogen and our technologies, and to provide a competitive market for Korean investments. Finally, as seen in our previous slide, Canada offers a myriad of opportunities. So the approach will be tailored to the strengths and advantages of each jurisdiction in Canada, providing diverse opportunities for partnerships and investment. Since releasing the strategy a year ago, Canada has been focusing on its implementation, which will take place in 3 consecutive phases. The focus until 2025 will be on laying the foundation for the hydrogen economy in Canada. This will include planning for and developing new hydrogen supply and distribution to enable early development hubs in mature applications while supporting Canadian demonstration in emerging applications. Regulations, such as Canada's clean fuel standards, will be fundamental in driving investments in the near term. And we're already seeing increased engagement from the private sector. In the last year, several conventional energy companies announced plans to make significant investments to grow clean hydrogen production and use. The second phase, 2025 to 2030, will focus on growth and diversification. As the technology matures, hydrogen use will be focused on applications that provide the best value proposition relative to other zero-emission technologies. Finally, in the 2030 to 2050 timeframe, Canada will start to realize, as will Korea and other countries, the full benefits of a hydrogen economy as the scale of deployments increases and the number of new commercial applications grow, supported by our foundational supply and distribution infrastructure. So what will that mean concretely? What is the vision for hydrogen in Canada in 2050? Hydrogen will make up 30% of Canada's energy system, and Canada will become one of the top 3 clean hydrogen producers globally. We expect the Canadian hydrogen sector will be worth 50 billion Canadian dollars a year by 2050. 5 million fuel cell vehicles will drive across Canada, including heavy-duty trucks and long-distance buses. These vehicles will be fueled by a network of hydrogen refueling stations across Canada, supported by pipeline infrastructure. Cost reduction will be key, and Canada will seek to expand domestic supply of low-cost, low-carbon hydrogen. This will also serve as an enabler for the development of new technologies. Canada, however, cannot succeed alone. We need to continue working together, harnessing our strengths, investments, and building on the global momentum to seize opportunities. Hydrogen's time is now, and we are excited to be part of it with Korea. I look forward to seeing more partnerships between Korea and Canada in the hydrogen sectors. Come and see us downstairs. We have a Canada booth. Look at the companies and the technologies that we're showcasing. Right next to our booth, we actually have in person one of the great Canadian companies, Loop Energy, which are bringing new technologies that are maximizing the productivity of hydrogen devices. So come downstairs to see us. We'll show you what Canada has to offer. I will now pass the floor to Mark Kirby, a message from him, the President and CEO of the Canadian Hydrogen Fuel Cell Association, who will provide an overview of the hydrogen industry in Canada, as well as recent developments and projects. Thank you. Merci. 감사합니다.
네, 발표하신 투더 헤라 부대사님 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다.
Please give me a big round of applause.
Giving a good speech. 네, 이제 이어서 캐나다
Mark Kirby, CEO and President of CHFCA, sent us a video message. Please take a look at it.
video of Canada Hydrogen Industry Policy by the CEO of the Canada Hydrogen Association.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Kirby, and I'm the President and CEO of the Canadian Hydrogen and Fuel Cell Association. And it is my great pleasure to speak with you this afternoon about Canada's commercial projects and opportunities on the event of H2 World 2021. I thank you, and I thank the organizers for inviting me. The Canadian Hydrogen and Fuel Cell Association and our affiliates are an industry nonprofit association that is the voice of the sector, and our vision is to accelerate hydrogen energy around the world. We have over 160 members representing leading companies in all sectors of the hydrogen and fuel cell value chain. As you've heard from the previous speakers, hydrogen is part of a net zero future. It's essential in long-haul transportation, in heavy industries, in building heat, and as an energy storage medium. It's both essential and it is a massive economic opportunity. And we're fortunate that it's also a Canadian strength. It's something where we think there is an enormous opportunity for trade and for partnership with countries around the world, including Korea. You'll have heard the government is taking significant actions in the area of hydrogen. We have a climate plan, a net zero commitment, and a new hydrogen strategy launched in December of 2020. We have policies that support the adoption of hydrogen and significant funding in place. And this is also backed with provincial strategies either in place or being developed. Plus, we have a network of hydrogen hubs that are starting to be developed across the country. Canada has significant strengths in the hydrogen and fuel cell sector. We're a leading energy exporter. We're a top 10 hydrogen producer. We've been doing this for over 100 years in electrolytic equipment, such as electrolyzers. We're the cradle of the PEM fuel cell. We've been operating in that for over 40 years. We're a leading clean hydrogen producer, and we have adequate merchant and distribution capabilities in place. And plus, as mentioned, we have hubs that are in development. Hubs are essential to the hydrogen strategy for Canada because What we have learned through examples around the world is that scale and proximity leads to reduced hydrogen cost. And that leads to sustainable economics, which we need to see our applications commercially deployed. And that will lead to economic growth and significant GHG reductions. Canada is fortunate to have 3 hubs already in development in Vancouver, Edmonton, and Quebec. And we see those expanding and eventually connecting up to form a grid for hydrogen across the country. We also are fortunate to have a leading PEM fuel cell cluster centered in Vancouver with leading companies, services, testing, supported by our universities and research organizations, and many more. This is an incredible pool of talent that has developed over the past 40 years and is available to assist companies in deploying hydrogen fuel cell technology in their products and services. As a result, we're involved in projects around the world, everything from forklifts to trains, buses to trucks, marine, aviation, and more. It's an exciting field, and I can assure you that the commercial and cost-effective fuel cell products are coming soon to the marketplace. You can see this in the ramping growth of Canadian fuel cells around the world. It's doing a classic hockey stick. It's been slow for a while, but now it is starting to ramp rapidly around the world, and we expect this to continue. In addition, we're getting in place the necessary fueling infrastructure. And we've been doing this for many years, going back to 2010, when we ran for 3 years a major bus fueling system in Whistler, BC in commercial service, and now expanding to light duty and heavy duty projects across the country. We have companies that are involved in doing this. We have projects that are underway, including the 20+ station project in BC, which is deploying light duty stations across the British Columbia geography. We're also very fortunate in Canada to have very good energy resources to support hydrogen production. We have a large and untapped wind resource. We have a huge hydro resource. We have biomass, a nuclear industry, and of course, a fossil fuel sector that is a leading exporter of energy. And I should note that for the fossil fuels, we're looking to this with carbon management. So looking to export the energy, but leave the carbon behind in the ground. And we have experience in this. So we're using our renewable energy sources to produce hydrogen today. We have technology companies such as Cummins, Hydrogen Optimized, Next, and others involved in this technology. We have leading projects either underway or planned, including the example in Bécancour, Quebec, of the world's largest PEM electrolyzer project, a 20-megawatt project for producing hydrogen from clean power for use in industrial applications around North America. And we also are producing clean hydrogen from fossil fuels with carbon management. We have technology companies in here, and over 1 million tons a year of projects have been announced in Alberta producing clean hydrogen from our fossil fuel resources. An example is our Quest project, a $1.35 billion project incorporating carbon capture, utilization, sequestration near Edmonton, Alberta. So in summary, we have research and development projects, technology. We have the BC Fuel Cell Cluster and a cluster of electrolyzer and nuclear hydrogen production in Ontario. We have low-cost clean hydrogen production. We have the Alberta Heartland Hydrogen Hub and many more in development. We have multiple blending projects, including North America's first in Markham, Ontario. We have biofuel and biochemical production projects, and of course, transportation projects, light duty, material handling, buses, trucks, and even freight rail. What this has led to is a hydrogen and fuel cell sector that has got enormous capabilities right across the value chain, everything from products to engineering studies and research. And we have international experience. We've been doing this for many years, research partnerships to build products and projects, vehicle development projects, helping companies incorporate hydrogen and fuel cells into their products. We're involved in sales of leading clean hydrogen projects around the world. And of course, our people have that international experience, the engineers, scientists, technicians, etc. So there's many opportunities for collaboration with KHIA. Research and demonstration, international supply chains, events, clean chemicals and biofuel mineral production, investment, and clean hydrogen exports. And I do urge you, if you have questions or interested in exploring this further, please do contact the CHSCA. We're very happy to talk with you and to provide you further information and to make those contacts you need. Thank you, and do enjoy the conference.
네, 멀리서 영상을 보내주신 마크 커비 회장님께 다시
Thank you very much for his video speech.
다음은 영국
Next, I'd like to invite the speaker from England.
So he sent us a video message. Joshua Rowans gave us a video message on British hydrogen industry policy. Please understand he cannot make it here in person.
the video of United Kingdom hydrogen industry policy.
Hi, I'm Josh Lawrence from the UK Department of International Trade. Our department is responsible for UK export and investment promotion, and I work in the renewable energy section, leading on the promotion of hydrogen. Through my role, I retain an overview of the UK hydrogen industry, including government policies, companies, and industry developments. And I'm going to share some of that with you today to give you a UK perspective on developing a hydrogen economy. And I hope by the end of this you'll understand how the UK is approaching hydrogen, and also see that the UK is a leading place for hydrogen investment, collaboration with significant expertise and technology. Hydrogen has a long-standing UK context, having been discovered in the UK by Henry Cavendish in the mid-18th century. And little did we know how crucial hydrogen would become to the world so many years later. Hydrogen is now seen as essential for the UK achieving net zero by 2050. The UK has an independent organisation called the Climate Change Committee, which reports to government every 5 years on what needs to happen to meet the UK's net zero commitment. And the sixth carbon budget was released last year, and it estimated that between 250 to 460 terawatt hours of low carbon hydrogen will be needed in the UK in 2050, which represents a massive 20 to 35% of UK energy consumption predicted for that time. So there's a big market foreseen in the UK. And the UK has some key fundamentals which make it well positioned to lead the global switch from fossil fuels to allow to low carbon hydrogen. These include a history of strong government leadership on renewables. The UK was the first major economy to set a legally binding net zero target by 2050. The UK has robust supportive policy development going on, world-leading research, existing capability and expertise, and a strong investment and trade landscape. So what underpins the hydrogen opportunity in the UK? Well, a whole range of factors, much broader than just hydrogen, and I'll point out a few here. The UK has a very supportive business environment and is the #1 destination for inward renewable investment in the European continent. So it has a lot of experience and support for hydrogen projects. The UK is taking a twin track approach to hydrogen, developing both blue and green. This should mean the UK has a large quantity of low-cost, low-carbon hydrogen available sooner to the market than other countries. The UK has major offshore wind capacity, which can provide the large amounts of renewable electricity needed for green hydrogen production. More wind electricity is generated in the UK than any other country worldwide, and the UK recently set a new target to deploy 30 gigawatts by 2030. And many major hydrogen projects have already been announced, and we'll come on to this in more detail later. And we've touched on the significant hydrogen demand that's expected. The UK has consistently been in the top 10 countries for hydrogen patent rates, and many major policies are in the pipeline, including the Net Zero Hydrogen Fund, hydrogen business models, and low carbon hydrogen standards. The UK government has been stimulating hydrogen development through policy over the past decade and has clear plans for the coming decades. It's a mistake to think that because the UK has just published a hydrogen strategy that nothing has been happening till now. A lot has been happening, and here you can see a timeline of those things. You can see there was the low carbon hydrogen supply competition in 2018, which provided £33 million to accelerate the development of low carbon bulk hydrogen supply solutions in key sectors. There's the Industrial Decarbonisation Challenge Fund, which included 170 million from government and 261 million from industry to invest in developing technologies, including hydrogen fuel switching. You can see the hydrogen business models in development. The government published a report in 2020 setting out all the options. The 10-point plan was announced in 2020 for a green industrial revolution, which set the UK's internationally competitive target for 5 gigawatts of low carbon hydrogen production by 2030, both green and blue. And various government support was announced along with that to unlock £5 billion of private finance in the sector. And now the UK has published its hydrogen strategy, and alongside it a number of consultations, including the hydrogen business models, the Net Zero Hydrogen Fund, and the UK low carbon hydrogen standards. Even before the strategy was published, the UK had a pipeline of announced hydrogen projects of approximately 18.7 gigawatts through to 2037. So it'll be interesting to see how that grows now that the strategy has been published. And it's worth noting also that in support of the strategy development, the UK government has been guided by a Hydrogen Advisory Council set up with a representative group of key industrial and academic stakeholders to provide expertise and guidance and to ensure the strategy strikes the right balance of ambition and practicality, working for both the government, business and the consumer. So what's in the hydrogen strategy? Well, developing a hydrogen economy is not going to be simple, and so the UK has set out some strategic principles to guide the complex decision making that's still to come over the coming decades. And these include the need for value for money for taxpayers and consumers. We need to minimise the cost of action and drive down costs over the long term. There needs to be economic growth while cutting emissions through hydrogen. Strategic advantages, positioning UK companies at the forefront of the global hydrogen market so that we can help other countries decarbonise along with us. Minimal disruption for consumers and households. Research and innovation needs to be aimed at reducing costs and addressing the risks and providing safety and technical assurance to consumers so that deployment can ramp up. Keeping options open, there are uncertainties around the role of hydrogen in 2030 and out to 2050, including how the production methods will be split and the scale of demand. And the UK will seek to ensure optionality to deliver a number of credible pathways to 2050 and a range of hydrogen and renewable technologies that could support zero carbon ambitions, the net zero ambitions, sorry. And lastly, a holistic approach, so trying to look at the whole hydrogen system, supporting coordination across all the different stakeholders that are needed to play a part. And this is a key role that government can and will play. There are quite a few policy deliverables needed to support the hydrogen economy, which will be designed with those principles in mind. And I'll focus on a few of those in the coming slides: regulatory frameworks, market frameworks, funding, research and innovation. So it's recognised that the UK needs to overcome a number of market barriers to enable hydrogen production, in particular the higher cost of sustainable hydrogen compared to existing high carbon counterfactuals like natural gas in the UK. To overcome this barrier, the UK is designing a supportive market framework in the form of hydrogen business model, which will support the operating costs of hydrogen production while those costs are still uncompetitive. And there was a report in August 2020 setting out all the possible business models and an analysis of them. Now a consultation has been launched setting out the proposed UK business model and inviting stakeholder views. And the proposed model is a variable premium type model, a bit like the UK's energy CFD, or contract for difference, which was deployed successfully for offshore wind development. It involves providing some price assurance to hydrogen producers by making up the difference between a strike price representing the cost of production and a reference price representing the market value, which could be lower than production cost in the early stages of the hydrogen market. With the UK's twin track approach in mind, the model is being designed to support both green and blue hydrogen production. There's likely to be a sliding scale when it comes to volume, so as the industry scales up production, the support needed from the hydrogen business model scales is expected to decrease. And it will need to be dynamic with some indexation to account for the varying price of feedstocks like the electricity for green or the natural gas for blue. Also, alongside the hydrogen strategy, a consultation was launched on the Net Zero Hydrogen Fund, which is being designed to support the capital costs of deploying early at-scale hydrogen production during the 2020s. This will be agnostic as well, available to both blue and green hydrogen projects. And the initial fund will be worth around 240 million, but is being designed to unlock private finance. So projects funded by it will have strong private sector funding also. With the supportive policies and funding, it's recognised that crucial to this will be ensuring the hydrogen produced is sufficiently low carbon, so as to contribute to the UK's carbon budget targets and net zero commitments. So a consultation has just been launched on the low carbon hydrogen standards. And these standards, once decided, will set out the government methodology for calculating greenhouse gases associated with hydrogen production. How the life cycle assessments would be done, where the system boundaries lie. For example, should the standard be applied at the point of hydrogen production or go beyond to the point of use? A lot of hydrogen research and development is planned as part of the strategy, and this will continue many research projects already in progress. The Bayes Hydrogen Supply Competition, for example, provided 33 million of government funding to develop at-scale innovative production methods. There's some really interesting projects in that competition. Project Dolphin, for example, which is green hydrogen produced from floating offshore wind platforms. Project Hyper was blue hydrogen through a novel method of capturing CO2 more effectively at source and producing high purity hydrogen. Project Acorn is developing blue hydrogen via traditional steam methane reformation, combining it with CCUS and blending in the gas grid. So lots of interesting innovations happening, and the High Supply 2 competition has just been announced, as well as a whole raft of other funding competitions, Industrial Fuel Switching, Green Distilleries Fund, Industrial Decarbonisation Challenge Fund, etc. There have been many hydrogen strategies published around the world over recent years, some with large funding attached, but many have lacked clarity about how countries will go about developing hydrogen economies, and that's a strength of the UK hydrogen strategy. Here's a roadmap to how the UK government will achieve its hydrogen goals from the early 2020s through to the 2030s, mid-2030s onwards. And you can see the key milestones, actions, targets, progression from small scale to large scale, the evolution of hydrogen transportation to the development of networks, how demand and usage are expected to evolve. And the UK is on its way to some of these milestones already. Finally, beyond the policy, I'd just like to share some information about the existing UK landscape and projects. The UK has a lot of experience in hydrogen already, transferable from its chemical, oil and gas industries. And there's a rich ecosystem of companies specialised in hydrogen, which you can see here, spread both across the UK geographically and across the value chain. Companies working on blue and green hydrogen, storage, distribution, and downstream uses and application. We've talked about the project pipeline. There's a significant pipeline already of 18.7 gigawatts of projects announced through to 2037. This is constantly evolving, and now the strategy has been launched. We hope to see this grow. And finally, there's a strong recognition in the UK that the balance of hydrogen supply and hydrogen demand needs to be carefully balanced to support the growth of the industry. So to this point, there are various sources of demand developing in the UK, key areas being heavy goods, passenger transport like buses, hydrogen. Though buses are already in use in London and Aberdeen, the UK has hydrogen rail pilots in progress. Hydrogen for shipping is being explored. Aviation also, but that's a bit further away. And here are some of the specific examples of hydrogen projects, a selection of applications in development. You've got the first commercial hydrogen flight called HiFlyer by Zero Avia. You've got River Simple hydrogen cars, the Hydroflex train, JCB hydrogen-powered excavators for construction, hydrogen-ready boilers for home heating, and hydrogen ferries in development as well. In terms of ecosystems, HyNet is a great example of a UK hydrogen cluster project. It involves both blue and green hydrogen production with offshore wind. hydrogen storage plans, hydrogen public transport systems, industrial uses, and it's all brought together under one ambitious and advanced cluster project. Project Gigastack. This project couples the world's largest offshore wind farm run by Ørsted with hydrogen production using ITM power electrolyzers for use by large-scale industrial user Phillips 66 refinery. And just recently, plans for the world's first 100% hydrogen power station were announced in the UK by SSE and Equinor, so that's a really great story too. On that note, I'd like to thank you for your time and invite you to contact DIT if you're interested in getting involved with UK hydrogen development or in accessing UK technologies and expertise. There's plenty of support available to companies whether interested in investing or finding UK hydrogen solutions. So thank you and goodbye.
So I have to adjust the microphone. Yep. Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Peter Weilhausen. Thank you very much for all coming back after this your short break, because this part of the program, of course, is the best. So thank you. I'm Peter. I have been living in Korea for I think 15 years already now. So when I was listening to the presentation of director of the hydrogen division of MOTI, Mr. Bae Jun-hyung, who said that Korea started with hydrogen in about 2018-19, I thought he was somewhat modest. I know that Korea has been working on hydrogen for a long time already, much longer than the 3 years or 4 years that he mentioned. So I've already been telling our government back in the Netherlands, hey, Netherlands government, we should do something with hydrogen and we should do it with Korea. And then our government was always, 생각해볼게요. I'll think about it. And then I kept pushing, saying, Korea is good. We should do something with them. And I think they also want to do something with the Netherlands. We are comparable countries. And still they said, 생각해볼게요. So, but then finally, I think 3 years ago, they switched to hydrogen as well. It came on their minds. And now we are in overdrive to get the cooperation between Netherlands and Korea going. So I want to start with my presentation and shortly talk about a few things about short introduction of the Netherlands. I'm not sure if that's needed. Talk about our hydrogen and energy policy, some hydrogen roadmaps. Of course, we are doing stuff with hydrogen already in the Netherlands, so I'll talk about some examples. And then international cooperation. But I think the Netherlands doesn't need any introduction. I think we know, you should know the Netherlands. Netherlands is a small country somewhere in Europe, northwestern parts. It's about 1/3 the size of Korea. I always say the Netherlands is about the size of Gyeonggi-do and Gangwon-do together. The number of people in the Netherlands is about 1/3 of the number of people in Korea. And our GDPs are also relatively similar in that way. So we have a lot in common geographically. And of course, in history, we also have some common things, but I think my clock is ticking, so I will skip all these things. So now let's go to energy. This is the energy situation in the Netherlands of the last 20 years. How much did we use? As you can see, we use a lot of oil, a lot of natural gas, and the amount of renewables, and that includes hydrogen, is small. This graph goes until 2018. So it's a little old, but if I would go until 2020, about 10% of our primary energy supply was renewable. And so we have I'm not going to say problem, we have a challenge, because our Dutch government said, we want to reduce the CO2 emissions by 49% by 2030. And then if you look at our energy consumption at this moment, about 80% is fossil fuel based. So we have a challenge there. How do we get rid of it? So one of the things they also want to do is get rid of all the natural gas in our energy system. It's a big thing. So at this moment already, new homes are not allowed to be connected to the nationwide natural gas grid anymore. It has to be all electric. So then this energy thing, it's been on our minds for, energy in general has been on our minds for a long time, but this renewable energy, I think it kind of started in 2012. It started with, one of the things that started it was the innovation policy in the Netherlands called Top Sectors, 2011. And as the Netherlands, we said we want to focus on topics that we think we're good at, and topics that are important for the Netherlands, and topics that are important for our economy and our society. We want to solve some societal problems. So our government picked these, and as you can see, one of them is energy. And with the emphasis, of course, on research and development. If you look then in this top sector, energy, I think in Korea it's comparable to the new growth engines. Anyway, if you look at the top sector energy, there's in the top left, I'm sorry, it's in Dutch, but it's, we want to focus there on the offshore wind. There is also bio-based economy. We want to get energy from bio-based resources, and one of them is new gas. And this new gas in the beginning was only biogas, and slowly from 2012 and then later, after, I think I was one of the people from saying we should do hydrogen and we should do it with Korea. They also started to put hydrogen in this sector. So, but this hydrogen took off quite lately, 2019, at least on a policy level. The Dutch government, together with NGOs, with industry, research institutes, universities, they set up the climate agreement. And in short, by 2030, we want to reduce CO2 emissions by 49%. And hydrogen became a part of it. So in 2020, early 2020, the Dutch government released the innovation roadmap. And a little bit later, also, it introduced the government strategy on hydrogen. And then, of course, as you know, Netherlands is part of the EU. Also, some developments in the EU made hydrogen even more important in the Netherlands. There's the European Green Deal, the European Hydrogen Strategy, and the EU has announced, as our ambassador said in her short speech earlier today, that Groningen, which is the most northern province in the Netherlands, will become the hydrogen valley of the EU. What that means, I'll talk about later. So, and in short, this is very schematically what, as the Netherlands, we want to achieve with hydrogen. In the middle, you see hydrogen comes from electrolysis, and for that you need electricity, and electricity comes from wind energy, from solar cells. We import electricity, and then with electricity and water you can make hydrogen, and the hydrogen goes to, well, wherever, to industry. We need to heat our homes. We have transportation. We are thinking about also using the hydrogen for aviation. There are many different subsectors. So for all of these subsectors, the Netherlands, as part of all the initiatives on a policy level, they were analyzed. And they were analyzed at what's the technology level at this moment. And what's the technology level of some subsectors of these subsectors. And here is a small example of one example of one of these analysis. It's, I think, maybe one of the more easy one. It's transportation. So there's transport. So on the left side, it says, what kind of transportation do we have? And then on the horizontal axis, there is the technology readiness level. Level 1 means still a lot of research needs to be done. And level 9 is fully developed, and market introduction is already ongoing. So we looked at the status of some of these subsectors. So basically, the passenger cars and buses are on the right side, technology readiness level 9, so we don't need to do a lot. And the color is green, meaning it's an important one. We have to focus on this. If you look at, for example, in the top left, it says tour boats and ferries. It's technology readiness level 1 to 3, meaning we still need a lot of research to do on this topic. And we marked it green, meaning it's important. So this is an area that, as the Netherlands, we will spend some time on and effort and money to get it done. This is just one of the examples. I will not show you all the examples. If you're interested, please let me know. I'll send you the full 150-page report in English, and you can have a look by yourself. And then, of course, I'm anticipating the question that you will ask. How much money will you spend on this? I will say, I don't know. But as the Netherlands, there are some smart people there. They made an estimate, and they wrote down a lot of things, blah, 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 and they came up with a number, let me check, of almost 2 billion euro between now and 2030 on just the development and some pilot projects related to hydrogen. And by the way, this is an estimate. It's not that the government will spend it. It's a pre-calculation of the money that we think we will need in the Netherlands to get it all done. So then our strategy, what do the Netherlands look at? Of course, we look at legislation and regulation. How can we use the existing natural gas grid in the Netherlands? How can we guarantee safety? What shall we do with certification? Some important topics. Infrastructure program, and I think one of the most important things is cost reduction. We all know how to make hydrogen. I don't think that's difficult technology, but how can we make it affordable? So it comes close to the price of what we're used to pay now. And then also one of the things that we are focusing on, one of the ways of hydrogen production is with using offshore wind, just like our colleagues from the UK. And I quickly want to mention number 4. We also need some supporting activities. The R&D strategy is important, but also international cooperation. If you were here in the beginning when our ambassador was here, she also mentioned it. No one company, no one country can do it alone. We need to do it together, and hopefully together with Korea. So a little bit about our existing infrastructure. We already have about 1,000 kilometers of hydrogen pipes running through the Netherlands. The yellow ones are are existing ones, and the blue ones, which mainly run from the coast to the circle, the blue ones are the new hydrogen pipes. And the good thing is we already have an existing, a very extensive existing pipe network of more than 130,000 kilometers of pipe, and we are looking at how can we convert these natural gas pipes into hydrogen pipes. So, and then I want to quickly focus on some of the regions. This is the northern region. This is the province of Groningen, the hydrogen valley of the Netherlands. They have all kinds of projects running there, partially funded by the EU. They have about 20 million euro investment from all kinds of from the EU, and they've put it in projects to that convert wind energy into hydrogen. They are looking at making hydrogen powered trains, because this region, the trains in this region mainly still run on diesel, and then hydrogen would be a very clean alternative. And then Rotterdam. Rotterdam is the major harbor of the Netherlands, and for sure also the main harbor of at least Western Europe. A lot of goods come in, a lot of oil comes in, the oil-related products, and this harbor is also converting into hydrogen. It wants to receive hydrogen and then later put it into this hydrogen pipeline grid that is existing in the Netherlands and is connected to the rest of Europe. Then Amsterdam, I guess you all know Amsterdam, our capital. That is, it has our second largest harbor. Also, they want to receive a lot of hydrogen being shipped from abroad to the Netherlands to put it into the grid. And then north of Amsterdam is the town of Den Helder. That is also important because that could be the way that we can transport CO2 into the North Sea and pump it into the existing or empty gas fields that are existing there. So this is in short, I think, and if you want to remember, if you want to take a picture of one slide, this is the slide that you should take a picture of and should memorize or take a screenshot of. This is the most important one. This shows the entire government roadmap, with projects being planned and project being finished in the Netherlands. I see some people taking a picture, so I'll pause a little bit. And people at home, are you ready with the screenshots as well? One more picture. Yeah, okay, now I'll continue. So now I'll quickly want to just talk. I look at 3 minutes, 3 minutes time only. Some projects very quickly that we are working on, that are in progress or are being planned or are finished. Because policy is just policy. If it's just policy on paper, you have nothing. You need real projects. But I have here is a project that producing hydrogen with offshore wind energy on an old oil platform in the North Sea. On this platform, they put a electrolyzer. They put also they use the seawater, and they demineralize it, so they have extremely clean water that can be used to split into hydrogen and oxygen. And then this hydrogen that is being produced on sea is being transported via pipeline to the mainland. Then, yeah, some mobility examples. Of course, we need Hyundai cars in the Netherlands, but there's more than these cars to transportation. We are looking at converting all kinds of trucks, garbage trucks, for example. And then here, the train that I just mentioned. By the way, yeah, the train. And the picture on the right is the cargo ships that are traveling on the rivers between Rotterdam to Germany. There's a lot of cargo being shipped there as well. And also these ships, they run on dirty diesel that gives a lot of fine dust. Amsterdam and Den Helder, the example on the left side is example for a steel factory like POSCO close by. They also use hydrogen, and they want to use this. They want to use green hydrogen there. We are also in the process of converting natural gas turbines into hydrogen turbines, so use hydrogen instead of natural gas to produce electricity. And then the project on the left is also the project that our ambassador mentioned earlier. It's this fuel cell that has been running for more than 15 years to produce electricity out of hydrogen. And this is hydrogen was a kind of a byproduct of some chemical process. Then this hydrogen valley. Also there they want to use offshore wind or electricity from offshore wind farms to produce hydrogen and then store it into some old salt caverns in the province. In the built environment, we're looking at boilers just like our UK colleagues. I think all Dutch homes, all Dutch apartments have their own private boiler. It runs on natural gas. And we are looking at boilers that are running on both, a mix of both gases, or just they can switch between one or the other. So, and then, yeah, again, as the Netherlands, we cannot do it alone. I told our government, I think maybe already for more than 5, 6, 7 years, this hydrogen cooperation we have to do with Korea. It's happening here. And finally, they are listening. We have been coming to Korea, or we have been promoting our Dutch companies, our Dutch policy, our Dutch technology for a few years now. We are at exhibitions here in Korea. 2 months ago, we were in COEX, what's it called? Kintex, the H2 Mobility and Energy Show. Today, tomorrow, and on Friday, we also have a booth here on the first floor, G23. So if you have time, please do visit us. These are some of the Dutch companies, not all of them, and some of these we are representing here. I like to mention, for example, Soluforce. It's a startup company, but they make flexible pipes that can be used to transport hydrogen. So no fixed, firm, sturdy steel pipe, but a flexible pipe. I'm not sure what it is made of, but it's flexible. Then there is DSM. We are also representing them down at in our booth. They make strong material to make tanks, hydrogen storage tanks. And then, let's see, another company that I would like to mention, it's a UK company. I'm sorry, it's Howden, it's on here. It's a UK company, but their hydrogen technology, their hydrogen compression technology is from a Dutch company. Howden recently bought this Dutch company. So basically they are promoting Dutch technology, good compression, good hydrogen compression technology, and I just heard they already have machines running in more than 200 different projects here in Korea. So if you're interested to talk with us, visit us at our booth. If you're interested to hear more about these Dutch companies that we are representing, please join us tomorrow at our webinar/seminar. We will be here in room 201. It will also be broadcasted via Zoom. If you want to receive the Zoom address, please ask me. If you're at home at YouTube, watching us via YouTube, then just send me an email, and I'll send you the address for the Zoom webinar tonight, tomorrow. Yep, okay. Thank you very much.
네, 피터 웨하즌 담당님께 큰 박수.
Let's give him a big round of applause. Next, Eiji Owira from New Energy and Industrial Technology Development Organization will deliver a speech on a Japanese hydrogen policy.
On YouTube, online. 네, 여러분 큰 박수로 맞이해 주시기
Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Well, thank you for your kind introduction. Yes, my name is Eiji Owira. I'm in charge of NEDO's hydrogen fuel cell program. What is NEDO? NEDO is a kind of the founding agency under the Ministry of Trade and Industry in Japan to promote a national R&D program. Our R&D field is very wide, from the energy, renewable, wind, PV, and also robotics and information technology, etc., etc. Yeah, and hydrogen is just a part of our field. It's a great pleasure for me to join today's conference. It's 2 worlds, but unfortunately, I wish I'll be there. But next time, I promise to be there and to make the conversation for how to promote the hydrogen. Yes. Okay, and now we are in a big hydrogen wave. Remember that there are many hydrogen waves, maybe every 10 years. The difference in the current and the past movement is there are political commitments. And now many countries, Korea also, Japan also, support hydrogen with their own national hydrogen policy, such as strategy and roadmap. We need to ensure this movement not be bubble. In this regard, next 10 years, to activity would be more important, especially improve and realize technologies. We, Japan, have been working on hydrogen over the 30 years and the 40 years. Today, I would like to introduce our updated information on hydrogen. Okay. First, I would like to explain our current energy situation. The proportion of renewable energies is still increasing. In 2019, the renewable reached about 10% of total energies and 20% of total electricity. However, it is still highly dependent on fossil fuels, maybe an 80%, about 85%. For the prospect of improved energy self-sufficiency and combating climate change, it's necessary to further expand renewable energy. On the other hand, we see the carbon dioxide emission. You see it in the right side. Carbon dioxide from the energy transformation sector, mainly power generation, account but only 40% of total energy-related carbon dioxide emission. The decarbonization in the power sector alone is not enough to achieve the carbon neutrality. Therefore, it's necessary to consider various approaches other than the introduction of renewable energies. Hydrogen is the most promising way to achieve the carbon neutrality. In October 2020 and last year, our former Prime Minister declared its ambition to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to net zero by 2050. To achieve the target, METI formulate green growth strategies through achieving carbon neutrality in 2050 and the industrial policy to lead the challenging goal of carbon neutrality to a positive cycle of economic growth and environmental protection. Well, this strategy set the 14 priority fields, including hydrogen, and to support the R&D activity in 14 priority fields, the METI established Green Innovation Fund. It accounts almost 20 or 19 billion US dollars for 10 years of their activities. Okay, this figure shows the kind of image how Japan will achieve carbon neutrality to promote electrification in non-electric power fields such as thermal energy for industry process. And promote low carbonization or zero electric power. We may utilize in renewable, nuclear, and fossil fuel CCS, and hydrogen and ammonia. In area where electrification is difficult, hydrogen, ammonia, and biomass used directly. Well, and specific action, target value will be considered in the future. But here, just for our direction. I'd like to pick up the hydrogen, how we promote hydrogen. Well, our target is reduce the cost of the hydrogen. Yes, many countries say that the big issue is the cost of the hydrogen. Well, and our target is less than $2 per kilogram in the 2050. By 2050, we will proceed with the effort to expand the amount of the hydrogen utilization in the future. Like, and now we utilize hydrogen 2 million tons, but the 3 million tons in 2030 or the 20 million tons in the 2050. The hydrogen supply with the country will make the best use of the current domestic resources, well, such as byproduct of hydrogen from chemical industries. From 2030, we will start import hydrogen from the overseas resources and start utilize domestic renewable hydrogen. Okay. On the utilization side, yes, and we are now promoting the fuel cell passenger vehicle. We try to expand it to heavy duty vehicle, bus, truck, etc. And the next step is we may use the hydrogen at the maritime application in the future for aviation. In terms of electric power, hydrogen power generation will start in 10 years. The industry field, we aim to put into practical use until 2050. It's a very difficult way, our projects. The thermal sector, we will also promote introduction decentralized cogeneration. In any case, technological development is quite important. As I mentioned that, especially in the next 10 years, we will to strongly activity invest technological development in order to gain a lot of knowledge. And this figure shows our current status of the hydrogen application, fuel cell application. Well, and first one is residential fuel cell, and our first mass product fuel cell application. Now we have around 400,000 unit stationary fuel cell for the household. And the mobility sector, I understand that we just behind in the Korea to over the 5,000 fuel cell passenger vehicle running in Japan, and 100 fuel cell dominant bus in operation. And hydrogen filling station, and we have over 160 public station. Okay, sorry, next I will talk about NEDO's activities. We allocate almost 24 billion Japanese yen to this field and hydrogen and fuel cell. This amount is around 50% of our total net budget. You may see that NED is focusing on the hydrogen. NED recognize that hydrogen is a promising technology. Well, and our project is very wide, from the hydrogen production, storage, utilization, and also we're working on the fuel cell hydrogen filling station. But to total budget, maybe 50% budget allocate for hydrogen energy system. This including hydrogen fueled gas turbine, well, international hydrogen supply chain, and power to gas. We recognize that technology for utilizing hydrogen as energy system is quite important in order to expand use of hydrogen. And this Well, a hydrogen energy system project was started in 2015. We have this 5 year, 6 year experience. Well, and I will talk about the current direction and the program. Well, the first step is promoting a fuel cell application. Yes, we have fuel cell, fuel cell application with the passenger vehicle, but we could not improve the technology of the fuel cell itself. We discussed with the Japanese OEM to set future ambitious targets and invite to academia to solve, to tackle all this target. We also try to expand to application, fuel cell application for the heavy duty vehicle and the safe maritime application, and etc. etc. Well, and hydrogen filling stations are the key for dissemination of fuel cell application. Okay, what current challenge is preparing a heavy duty vehicle. It's meaning we need to develop the new refueling protocol needed for the heavy duty vehicle. Its requirement is high speed, high amount hydrogen refueling. Well, and we have developed a new technology, and most important thing is developing the international regulation code and standard for heavy hydrogen refueling protocol for a heavy duty vehicle. Well, our next step is expand, to develop the expand and hydrogen demand. Well, the key technology is hydrogen gas turbine. We may use the hydrogen as a fuel for gas turbine system instead of the natural gas. This is the kind of gas to hydrogen consider to create big demand. To meet the future large demand of the hydrogen, we somehow need to import the hydrogen from the outside Japan. The challenge is how to concentrate hydrogen for long distance transportation. Well, and battery gas, it's a key technology for low carbon energy system, which is integration, renewable, and the hydrogen. Well, so there are still many challenges. We need to develop the large-scale water electrolysis, PEM, alkali electrolysis. Well, and we need we seek to next challenges or next possibility or innovative high performance water electrolysis, like SOEC, the annual exchange membrane electrolysis. Well, and battery gas is a kind of a system technology. We need to develop the system to technology in the energy management, the system optimization. Right, and next I'd like you to show a kind of snapshot of our project. This photo shows our international hydrogen supply chain project. We choose two types of the hydrogen carrier. The one is liquefied hydrogen. We help develop a small but the world first hydrogen tanker, and then this year. And also we develop the hydrogen handling system at ports, which including the loading, unloading, or large-scale liquefied hydrogen storage. Well, and that system is already commissioned, or demonstration may start late this year. Well, this slide shows, well, our megawatt scale of the battery gas project. We have developed the 10 megawatt scale water electrolysis. One is 10 megawatt alkali water electrolysis. Other one is 1.5 megawatt PEM water electrolysis. And through this demonstration project, we will produce not only green hydrogen, but also grid balancing service through dynamic operation of these water electrolysis. Right. And finally, I would like to introduce our new project. There are many projects in Japan to utilize Green Innovation Fund. It was established to support technological development toward the realization of the carbon neutrality, as I talked earlier. Well, there's many fields of projects under the Green Innovation Fund that the hydrogen is a part of. in the hydrogen field, we have set two social models to spread of the hydrogen and proceeding with the core technological development. One of the social model is neutralization hydrogen in coastal zone. This model is importing hydrogen, large amount of hydrogen from overseas and neutralize hydrogen at coastal zone for hydrogen gas turbine or power generation or any other industry uses for promoting decarbonization of the industry sector, refinery, the chemical plant, and the steel plant, etc., etc. The core technology is to hydrogen to transportation. Well, we started to small size. We already started small size demonstration project, but in this project, the challenge is scaling up. Well, for example, or liquefied hydrogen, we already developed the small scale hydrogen tanker. But at next step, we like to increase it 100 times and more. Well, on the hydrogen power generation, we already developed the hydrogen combustors. That next step is introduce this hydrogen combustor into actual gas turbine. We plan to invest 300 billion Japanese yen in these R&D activities. Well, our next project is scaling up in the party gas. As I mentioned that we already developed the 10 megawatt or 1.5 megawatt water electricity, but not enough size for social introduction. We need to scaling up the size of the water electricity, and we may use this kind of green hydrogen at industry sector. Our challenge is scaling up maybe on several 10 megawatt scale or sometimes 100 megawatt scale party gas system in 5 or 10 years. We will invest 70 billion in this large-scale party gas project. The purpose of this project is to accelerate social implementation of technologies. We will proceed with the scale up and application in actual environment. Right. So let me conclude my presentation. Yes, hydrogen is a key technology for carbon neutrality. Yes, hydrogen is not single solution, but play very important role for carbon neutrality. So we, Japan, have been strongly promoting hydrogen. Yes, Korea also, in Japan also, we have fuel cell or hydrogen application now, but it just started market penetration. Very small number of hydrogen application in the market. We need to continue to working on improving technologies or need to enhance application from the passenger vehicle or heavy duty vehicle or any other application like maritime aviation. But our final goal is developing a low carbon energy systems. Well, I would say that the key word is scaling up the integration for the low carbon energy system. And to realize low carbon society or hydrogen based society, we need long-term efforts are required. Well, don't expect too much that hydrogen society come true tomorrow. It's that we need to take the 10 years or 20 years. But the most important thing is to continue our work and believing how we realize this low carbon society. Okay, I would like to close my presentation and thank you very much for your attention.